So the last thing we wanted to talk about is something that we look at in our office, we talk about amongst ourselves and with our university counseling colleagues, and we're looking at what are the trends that are happening in the post-secondary world, and how do things, how are things evolving and changing in that world? Just the same way that they're evolving and changing in our own school system. We talked about using a coach approach, for example, at the beginning. Experiential programs, experiential learning as taking learning beyond the classroom. All of the things that you're maybe hearing about in terms of what's going on for your sons and daughters now here at SMUS are also happening at that post-secondary level. So again, those are conversations that we have with students when we're asking them, what's important to you about where you're going to go? Do you want to have an experiential learning opportunity? I think it's Whitman College, where Jake just returned from this morning. I think they have a Wild Wild West class where you can go and you do this caravan tour that follows the track of the Wild Wild West, but it's all experiential learning. Quest University does something where they take their first-year psychology students to an island in the Howe Sound, plunk them on the island for 5 days with their professor, gather a whole lot of data about what happens to the social dynamics and to the group while they're there, and then bring that back to the classroom. They spend the next 2 weeks figuring out what to do with that information and what can they glean from it and what can they learn. So those are some of the things that we see and that we hear about happening at universities. They're so interested in making sure that the students are engaged, especially some of those smaller liberal arts colleges that you might hear about in Canada or in the US in particular. We know that the big buzzword about 21st century learning skills, some of the things you see up there, social media, how is that used? The business program, for example, at UVic, they all have all their students on LinkedIn, and they connect with using that professional platform, but in the classroom and with their students to create online opportunities for students to engage with each other. There's flipped classrooms where students are doing the learning perhaps outside of the classroom on their own time through video or through online materials, and then they come back to the classroom so they can have their conversations and they can do all the learning that comes out of that conversation they have with profs and with their classmates. Co-op that we've already heard about, work experience, gap years, travel, all of these things are things that employers are interested in and that universities are experiences that universities are very often offering. Some universities are very focused on making sure, I know in Canada, Ryerson and SFU are two universities that say every single program that we offer has some kind of hands-on learning experience. Everyone. You will get something. You'll have an internship, you will have a work placement, you'll have a co-op option, that it's available to you in everything that you do. So some universities are really running with that because they hear, and you'll see in the media, of course, all of the information about what employers are looking for at the end of the day when students come away with their degree.
You may have seen this in the Vancouver Sun along this very topic last week. It's talking about experiential learning and community engagement in BC's universities. It was a major feature, including what's happening at SFU and various other places. This sort of thing is happening all over the country and all over the United States as well, and everywhere else we go. I was in the Netherlands a couple of years ago, and they've got tremendous community engagement in their universities. Members of their business communities and the manufacturing industry are on the campuses all the time, involved directly with students. And so that's coming, and that's going to be part of every university and college very soon, if it isn't already. There's also a very interesting trend that takes this a step further, and the terms are campus incubator, which you see there, and maker lab. I was at the University of Rochester this summer, and they have a whole building set aside for students to go in and make things. So it's not just the engineers anymore who make things, it's any student from any faculty who has an interest and wants to go in and use the tables and the tools and the spaces and get some expertise. They can start making things and developing actual things. The incubator labs, the campus incubator is a concept that is actually growing quite well in Canada. There's a campus incubator at UVic, and there are other campuses, Waterloo and Ryerson and many others. Those are think tank opportunities for students to become directly involved with community members who come in as well and might work on a particular kind of project. This sort of thing is relatively new, but it's really, really growing. And your sons and daughters are going to have the opportunity at their universities and colleges to get involved in this and actually feel the impact of community and corporate interest in the campuses and their programs and special projects. So it's very exciting for them.
One of the things that we spend a lot of time working with students, especially as they head to end of grade 12 and end of grade 11 and grade 12, is how are they going to get the possibility of having that opportunity to be in maybe a campus that has an incubator lab. And of course, the application becomes all-consuming for many students. As they're working through those applications. What we see as one of the trends is that there are an increasing number of universities that have gone to some kind of expanded application process. Canadian system has traditionally been very straightforward. I had a student say to another student in class today, it'll take you 10 minutes to apply, you're done. And it does. If you're applying for a lot of Canadian universities, 10 minutes might even be a stretch because it's really demographic information. It's program choice, and then it's probably a phone call to mom or dad to say, can I have your credit card, please? So that they can put the information in. But a lot of other universities are now adding another layer to it. So after they've submitted that application, then they might have to submit a personal statement, or they might have to answer what UBC calls them personal profile questions. The US, of course, uses a holistic approach to their, and a lot of the selective universities are very committed to this because all their candidates are up here. They're all at the top level. So they're looking beyond what is on paper and beyond perhaps their testing scores or their transcript, their academic record. And what are the other things that students are involved in? So when students have all these rich experiences here at our school through experiential education or through involvement in the musicals or in athletics or in clubs and councils that they may have the chance to lead. All of those opportunities are fodder for that expanded application process. So we talk with kids to try and get them to figure out what is the thing that's going to that they're going to be able to talk about. How can they maximize the white space, which is an expression that I've heard about applications, so that people get a sense of this is who I am and this is what is important about me. And the universities are looking to try and make sure that there is that diversity on campus. So they're taking in students who have had a diverse set of experiences, because that's going to feed into the energy on the campus and what happens there. So those are things that we work with students really carefully on to try and identify what do you want in the university that you're going to get to, that you want to go to, and what was it going to take to get there. So how can you take what you've already experienced here and turn it into something that's going to help you get onto that next piece.
There's an interesting trend in following right along from the application process. Students are now discovering that there are collaborative degree programs available between universities and colleges, and the collaboration is like this. An example would be McMaster University in Hamilton offers a Bachelor of Technology degree, which is highly academic and highly scientific, but they've twinned with Mohawk College, which is not far away, to offer an Ontario college certificate in the more practical elements of technology. So those kids are actually doing a lot of hands-on. And they've put into the mix several different co-op experiences for the kids. So over a 4-year period, they get a degree, they get a certificate, and they get several weeks, and I think I'm talking about 16 weeks of practical shop floor experience in co-op situations. And that is quite unique, but there are more and more of them. A little bit of research has turned up that the same kinds of partnerships are operating through many Ontario universities and colleges, and they will undoubtedly start to do that in other parts of the country as well. So collaborative degrees, meaning degree plus certificate and perhaps work experience, are right on the horizon and are here already in some universities.
So try to give you a lot of the information, give you a sense of what it is that happens when students are in our office, when your sons and daughters are come in. I had a student who came in 2 weeks ago and said to me, Ms. McCallum, can you just tell me what I'm going to do with my life? And I said, no, I can't do that. Felt like a really unwieldy question for the second week of September. But we meet with them individually. We see them in classrooms. We see them in homerooms. And we want, through our advising system, by picking them up when they come to the school, by helping them in grade 9 if they want it before they hit grade 10. Grade 10 is when they typically get assigned to one of us. And we want to make sure that they know who we are, that we have a connection with them and can get to know them well enough to kind of help know what are the questions to ask and what are the things we might tease out of them in terms of their interests, in terms of their passions, in terms of even the frustrations and challenges, so that we can help them figure out what are some of the options that they might want to consider, and then point them in that direction with good instruction about how to do research and how to look things up, and what are the resources that are available to you. So your human resources are listed there. The presentation will be up on Moodle, and we're going to divide it, in case you want to repeat this experience, into the four sections of what we talked about tonight. I'll put up the PowerPoint slides, so if you want our contact information, please feel free to get in touch with your son or daughter's academic advisor. We're happy to work with you. We do see it as a partnership, and are keen to have you involved as much as you'd like to be. So thank you very much for coming. On your way out, if there are still cheese and crackers up there, there's also a little trifold brochure here that we've made just called Preparation for Higher Learning. Talks about some of the big picture things that we work with students on as they go through sort of 9, 10, and 11. And I also brought over, I had some of these left over. If you're particularly interested in American universities, this is, I think there's actually one Canadian school in here, if I'm not mistaken, for some reason. But this is a little brochure that has some information about some American colleges that we had in our office. And I know we'll get some new ones this fall, but I thought some of you may be interested in that. So thanks for your attention. If you do have questions, please feel free to come and ask us, and we're happy to carry on the conversation. Thank you.